everyone.
Welcome to Happiness Hunch. We are Lynn and Mike, and we discuss on this channel different hunches we have in life and how that turns out. The hunch we want to discuss today is that the reality that everything you put in your mouth matters. It really does make a difference. This hunch first appeared in my life back in the 90s. I was adulting and wanted to take charge of my health and wanted to just put a higher priority on it. So I started watching the news and paying careful attention to any health updates. I also read fitness magazine, and I was looking for information. And what I discovered is that what I needed to do was to eat very low fat. That was a very big theme back then. And also there was this rising way of eating called vegetarianism. And maybe it had surfaced before, but for me it was a new idea. And so I really embraced it, and I did that. I'm not exactly sure how long I did it. I'm sure that I did not do it perfectly, but my hair started falling out, and I started to have digestive issues, and I developed this scar on my face, this skin thing that was like a wound almost on my cheek, and within a short amount of time. Like, I'm thinking it was 3 to 6 months. So I decided, wow, this new way of eating is not working for me. What I'm putting in my mouth is not working, and I cannot do this. So that was the first time this hunch appeared. But this hunch came back, and in a big way, when we got married and started to have children. Now, we got married, I was 29 and he was 27. So we were kind of late to the game in a way, according to some people's thinking. So anyway, we wanted to have children. And in fact, Isaac was born the day before my 30th birthday. So it was a honeymoon pregnancy. And anyway, I was super excited. I wanted to have a natural birth, and I wanted to breastfeed and raise him naturally. And so I attempted to do that. So we had a 12-hour labor getting him out. And I thought it was going to be this amazing, euphoric experience. Well, it turns out the first 3 months were pretty much torture, because Isaac would basically eat, vomit, poop, and then repeat all that nonstop with hardly any sleep in between. So
That's what babies do.
That's what babies do. After 3 months, I mean, didn't you like break a blood vessel in your eye or something during that time? Like, we were so sleep deprived.
Well, yeah, I still have it if you look really closely. Yeah, well, he was colicky.
Yeah, so he was very colicky.
Very colicky.
Which, another thing, I was reading all the pregnancy books and looking at everything, and basically, if you breastfed, that was like a 100% absolute safeguard against a colicky baby. Well, of course, that didn't happen for us, and so we dealt with colic, and what I thought was going to be euphoric was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to survive this. But thankfully, after about 3 months, it got a whole lot better. There was a big improvement. Isaac started sleeping more, vomiting less. And by 6 months, we were like, okay, maybe we're going to be real people again at some point here real soon. So it got a lot better. Was it?
Yeah.
So
I was teaching high school. At the end of the school year, we were still getting about 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night.
Yeah, it was. So summer came. That maybe been part of the break. Is we had summer break, and that helped out and gave us a break. So anyway, so after 6 to 12 months, it started getting better. Well, then Brielle comes into the picture. So I'm pregnant with Brielle when Isaac is about a year old. And and so at this point, this is kind of when Isaac sort of self-weaned. All of my kids were self-weaned around 12 to 14 months. So I noticed that, wow, as soon as he weaned, he started getting sick more often. And it was this green stuff, like a lot of green stuff. And he also had really bad earaches, ones that just broke my heart kind of thing.
Yeah, he burst his eardrum once.
Yeah. But I get so sick during pregnancy. I get migraines, like hormonal migraines. I don't have them otherwise, but I get them during the first part of pregnancies. So I was sort of in survival mode while I'm noticing these sicknesses. And so, so then Brielle is born, and the same thing starts happening with her. So when she weans, I'm seeing the same thing. Well, about this time, we're moving across seas and moving to Austria for Mike to go to grad school. So I'm noticing all this, but guess what? Now I'm pregnant with Joseph as we're moving over there. And so again, I'm living through migraines, and I'm on the couch a lot of the time. And we're in Austria, where I am struggling like crazy to read what items are in the grocery store. But it dawned on me that I made the food connection. What am I doing to these kids? It's what I'm eating. It's what I'm feeding them. And I felt devastated. So this realization occurred while I was in Austria, having a hard time surviving day to day while I was pregnant, and even the whole next year, because I could only do so much. You know, we're students. We have a student's budget. I can only read so much German. I didn't even have a recipe book, you know, and the internet wasn't anything like it was now. Like email was like a new thing for me. So it was a real struggle. So what did I do? I started really praying. I felt so bad. I remember going to sleep at night sometimes crying because Isaac, at this point, see, in Austria, the climate is different. It's cooler and damper. The dew you have never seen dew until you've been to Austria in the mountains there. Mm-hmm. I mean, the dew is like you can put it in a glass. So we were just in this
and it was always cloudy and rainy. We called it the Valley of Death.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we had socialized medicine on top of it, which was a lot of fun. Yes. We would go sit in this waiting room that was about 15 by 15 with about 20 kids in it that were all sick.
Yeah.
And we would sit there and wait for 2 or 3 hours.
To get something.
You know, so if you think you want socialized medicine, you might want to think again.
Yes.
But yeah, we would go to the doctor to help the kids get well, and then we'd come home with more things.
Yeah. And they really didn't work. That was the thing. When I was adulting too, way back when trying to work on my health, I would have these crazy sinus infections. And I would go to the doctor, and the doctor would give me an antibiotic, and it really didn't do anything. So I was pretty disenchanted. That's why I was kind of leaning towards eating naturally and sort of natural mothering in general. So, but anyway, so Isaac is getting sicker, and no kidding. He would be like green for 2 weeks, and then he would be fine, and then back to green, and we were alternating, and it was breaking my heart because I felt like I was personally doing this to him.
And then the stomach flu, like 6 times.
We would just get it a lot.
From Halloween all the way through Easter, we did 6 rounds. It's constant.
But the main thing is, my hunch was right. Food, what you put in your mouth really does matter. So here's the cool part of the story. We get back to the States. Now, I had been praying. Like it was like this long, never-ending prayer to God, please help me to nourish these kids. I knew I was doing something wrong and it wasn't right. So about 2 weeks, it was a very short time, 2 weeks after we got back, we were settling into my parents' house because Mike was going to work on his dissertation from there, and that way we wouldn't have rent and that kind of thing. So, and we had also discerned homeschooling. So a homeschooling family contacts me and invites me to come and listen to this doctor give this presentation on a Dr. Weston A. Price. Well, I wasn't real excited about it, you know, because I've already worked with doctors, and I sort of put them in the non-helpful category. So, but then I was thinking, you know, I should go for the sake of community. It was a wonderful family that invited us. I wanted to get to know them. So I went to this meeting where this DO, very nice man, starts this presentation on Dr. Weston A. Price. Well, it turns out Dr. Weston A. Price is a famous dentist. And he was a dentist, and he was actually chair of dentistry in that time frame. And he was becoming really concerned with the state of health of his clients because they were coming in with just greater number of cavities. And he saw it as a real problem. So being the scientist that he is and the investigator that he was, he went and visited 13 different primitive cultures, and that he knew they had perfect health, they had perfect teeth, they had great mental health. And so he studied each one. Long lives, happy lives, no violence. They could sing like crazy, like everybody could sing well, and it was because of the way their bodies were proportioned. And so he studied all their diets. He didn't find any vegetarians, I will say that. I think the closest was the Aborigines. And that's because they ate grubs, I think, and grasshoppers. That was their protein source.
Can't wait to have that.
So we never practiced any of the Aboriginal dietary practices, but we did a number of the other ones. So there were cultures from Ireland, the Swiss, Eskimos, Indians, Africans, the Mayans. So there were a lot of different cultures and he lived with them, and he took stats. And so he wrote the book, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration, which I studied and it wowed me. So anyway, I'm in this meeting. He's describing this doctor and all this stuff, and I'm weeping. Tears are just falling down my face. Number one, I'm totally ashamed of myself because I really didn't trust God. Yes, I had been praying, but I'm like, why am I hurting these kids? Why is this so hard? And I didn't really necessarily have a lot of faith that he was going to answer my prayer, but here I was 2 weeks out from getting home, and I'm in this meeting, and I'm like, yes, this is everything I needed to hear. So I go to leave. My eyes are bloodshot. My whole front of my shirt, I look down, and the whole thing is like wet from tears because I wasn't expecting to cry at this thing. I was expecting to probably be angry, if anything. So I left there, and we started eating according to Dr. Weston A Price's research. And it made such a difference. Excuse me. And what did we notice? I know. I'm exasperated just thinking about it again. It brings it all back, you know. So, but I had chronic sinus infections. I had these weird infections where I would develop fevers, and then I would have chills. I would be utterly exhausted, and it would last like 3 days. I would have it a few times a year, and these sinus infections were really debilitating. I could be out for like a week to 14 days. They were awful, extremely, extremely painful. And like I said, the antibiotics did not work. They really didn't do anything at all. So those were basically gone.
So what happened?
So we changed our diet, and the food worked. The food worked. So what? And you noticed things too. What did you?
Well,
notice?
We didn't have a single illness. Once we started the diet, probably we're in it 6 months. From that time on, we didn't have a single illness in the house for 2 years.
Yeah.
2 straight years. And then ever since then, our illnesses, for the most part, have been very mild. Our kids have gotten over them very quickly. Mm-hmm. I used to get bronchitis every year. I have never had bronchitis since. I used to get I'd get the flu, and then I'd get bronchitis.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened since. And this was 2003 we started. Mm-hmm. I have bunions on my feet, hereditary bunions on my feet that were arthritic, and so I had dropped out of all sort of like sports, high impact sports, anything that involved running or. I loved soccer. I used to play, but if I got stepped on or kicked on, it was so excruciatingly painful I couldn't play. Right. And starting on this diet within a couple of years, I had some X-rays done on my feet, completely healed. The pain was gone. I started playing soccer again. That was a couple of years after that, but I did start playing again and played for a while after that. But the main thing was just how healthy the kids were. We didn't have any more sinus infections, no more antibiotics, no more ear infections.
Right. And to date, so we have 2 kids in college, 1 child that's about to graduate and go to college, and we have a junior high child. And none of our kids have had any mental illness. None of our kids have any diagnosed diseases of any sort. So none of our kids are on any medications. We've had good dental appointments. Visits with the dentist, and we're super happy about it, and we just can't believe the difference. When I compare my kids to other kids, I feel really bad, and it's not something you can just go up and say, well, you just need to, you can't really do that. I do mention it. I try to mention it. I was more forthright about it when it first happened because it was this huge discovery, and I sort of proclaimed it for a while, but now I just kind of sit back, and if people ask, I'll say something about it. So this was a major hunch for us, but I will say, there's a second part to this hunch, and that'll be for another video. But for this video, if you have had an experience of food really mattering in your life and changing things, I'd love to hear about it in the comments and hear your stories, because I just find it amazing and transformative for other people who might read the comments as well. And, and just to share the word that food really does matter. And what you had wanted to say something else, too, just about the philosophy.
Well, let's do it another time.
Okay. All right, so we're at the end of this video. So anyway, share in the comments, how food has mattered for you, and the next time we get together, we'll share part 2. So, it was good to be with you. Take care.
Follow your hunches.
Follow those hunches.